Hey, how's it going? Today I'm talking about recognizing what you're doing is making you worse.
This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line.
Okay, so the past couple episodes, I've been talking about 3 reasons Run Disney runners DNF and 5 signs to look out for that show you're on the path to a DNF. So, how can you recognize that what you do is making you worse? Making you worse either with pain and injury or putting you on that path to a DNF. How can you recognize that it's happening? Because so many times we don't know until it has already happened, right? You know, parents do it with their kids. The kid is doing something and the parents like, "Oh, nope, don't do that. I wouldn't do that." But then the kid doesn't listen. They need to figure it out on their own and you're like, "Oh," and the parents like, "Oh god, I just why don't they listen?" But they need that lived experience to figure that out. Or you can't see the forest through the trees kind of thing. You can't see what's happening while you're in it. And I'm going to butcher this quote, but so as you know, I run my own business. I'm a one woman show over here with my physical therapy and coaching business. And so I follow a lot of people on Instagram or in emails, things like that. And somebody was talking about sharing their experiences, but they share the scab, not the wound. Meaning they share about it after it has already happened, when they're not emotional about the thing anymore, or when they have lived that experience already and can look back at it. They aren't sharing what to do while it's still a gaping wound, so to speak. So that kind of is what I'm talking about now. You can't always change, or you can't always know what to change while it's happening. You have to look at it retrospectively and learn from it. So what I recommend runners do, or just in life in general, what to do. Write things down. Write them down, take notes. Just the other day, I felt absolutely exhausted. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I got okay sleep. Like, why do I feel so exhausted? And then, I'm going about my day, getting dinner ready, and it dawned on me. I didn't eat dinner the night before. For whatever reason, did not, well, for whatever reason, I never want to make dinner. You don't know this about me. I don't like cooking. My husband has a lot of food allergies. And so it's really hard for us to make, mm-mm. It's really hard for us to go out to eat without me having some kind of anxiety or panic attack about what he's eating. That's a me thing. I'm working on it. But that means I have to cook. And I also hate cooking. So there will be days where I'm like, no, don't feel like it. And we had candy for dinner, or we have a bowl of cereal for dinner, or I think we had tortilla chips the other day for dinner. It it happens. I'm not saying it's the best way, but sometimes it happens. But the next day I was exhausted. You want to know why? Because I didn't eat enough the day before. But I didn't recognize that until later in the day. I felt exhausted probably around 11, which is abnormal for me. Normally at 11 o'clock, I am feeling good to go. But I couldn't recognize that while it was happening at 11 in the morning. It wasn't until I don't know, 5 o'clock. And I was like, well, it's time for dinner. What am I going to make? What did we have last night? Oh, we didn't eat last night. Oh, that's why I'm exhausted. So let's take that information to figure out how to recognize what you're doing is making you worse. So, in particular, if you have pain or injury, and if you're one of my clients, you will recognize that when something happens, I ask you more questions. This is a good comparison. I read something on Threads where a little girl got suspended from school. Like somebody was writing the thread about their child's in kindergarten, first grade. No, excuse me. This one was third grade. In third grade, she got suspended from school for a couple of days, because she had to be told to stop talking multiple times by the teacher. And so, as you went further in the story, turns out the little girl was reading the directions for their next task to their classmate for whatever reason. I don't know why the other classmate did not know what was going on, but this little girl was reading the instructions. And so mom asked child and teacher, well, what was happening right before you had to tell her to stop talking? So we need more context in a situation to know fully what's going on. If we didn't get context about this girl, we just thought she was a little chatterbox. No, more context. Oh, she's helping her friend be able to do the assignment, whatever it is. That's why she's talking. She's reading the instructions. So when something is going on, what happened before that? So for me, I wasn't tired because of something that was happening in that moment. I was tired from something that didn't happen the night before. I didn't eat enough. Same thing with running and specifically injuries. What happened recently before that? This happens a lot when somebody has random aches and pains, small, minor injuries where sometimes running 8 miles hurts, sometimes running 8 miles feels great, sometimes running 3 miles hurts, sometimes running 3 miles feels great. Sometimes the bike is okay, sometimes it's not. Sometimes walking is fine, sometimes it's not. Where it's like these kind of random things. What happened in the hours leading up to it, but more specifically, what happened the day or two before? Let's think about it that way. It might not have been that run, but what happened the day or two before? Oh, you did a speed session the day before, and now you're doing your long run. Okay, your knee doesn't like 2 days in a row of that kind of running. It wants cross training before the long run. Or I'm just giving a possibility. This is not a finite thing, but this is how we start figuring it out. What did you do? What happened the day before or 2 days before? Oh, did you lift really heavy the day before? Did you walk around Disney World for 20,000 steps the day before or 2 days before? Did you fly the day before or 2 days before? Did you not eat something? Did you get food poisoning? Did you sleep like absolute garbage? And we can't always figure it out while we're in it. Sometimes it takes a few days. But writing things down becomes really, really helpful for you to start noticing patterns. You might not be able to notice a pattern because it doesn't happen often enough for you to, in the moment, notice the pattern. It could be a once a month kind of thing, especially if you're a female, your menstrual cycle. If you look up, now I don't follow training based on cycle tracking to like I don't know enough about it, but I look at it and so it's like, "Oh, do you feel exhausted? Well, what phase of your cycle are you in?" Are you in the follicular phase, the luteal phase? That could play a role. You won't notice that pattern until you've been tracking it for months. In weekly kinds of things, maybe you always go out and have drinks Friday night and your long run on Sunday is crap. Well, maybe you have a 2-day hangover. I don't know. I barely drink anymore for many reasons, but one of them being I just don't like how I feel the next day because I drink so infrequently that like half a glass of wine for me is going to get me drunk. So I recognized over time, like, oh, yeah, that doesn't really make me feel great. So if I'm going to go for a run on a Saturday or a Sunday, I definitely don't want to be drinking on Friday. So there are things that you can't start noticing it until you have just written it down. And it's data points. I say this to my clients all the time. There is no right or wrong. This is data that we are taking. We are taking the information and we're putting it in our back pocket. I don't know how or when we will use some of this information. Some of it I will know immediately on how to use it, but we may not know what we're using this information for until 2 weeks later. But we need the information. So that's why I love tracking on the watch, writing things down. I have made PDF tracking things before because we can't track based on feelings, right? Like we are historically humans are terrible at remembering how we feel. Isn't that what women say all the time about childbirth? They go through it, it's miserable, and then they like black it out. And they're like, "Okay, great. 2 years later, let's have another one." And they forget that it was awful. Or I watched The Big Bang Theory, and the episode I just watched the other day was Howard is planning to go back to space. He was invited to go back to space, and Raj and Bernadette are like, "You really shouldn't do that. You were miserable." He's like, "No, it was great. I loved it." And they were like, "No, really. It was miserable for everybody involved. You wanted to come home, tried to figure out secret language to get you home." We, as humans, are not good at remembering those kinds of things. We either falsify it in our mind, or we black it out, or make it kind of gaslight ourselves that, oh, no, it wasn't that bad. No, it probably was. So we just write it down. So then we don't have to remember it. We can look back. So unfortunately, we can't necessarily recognize what's making us worse in the moment. Sometimes we need to see the pattern. But this is also a good reason to get a coach because the coach has either gone through it themselves or has seen enough people going through it that they can recognize the patterns for you while you're in it because they're not in it. They can see the forest through the trees. They have the bird's eye view and taking in all the pieces. That's why I take in all of the data points. That's why I care so much about asking somebody their pace, asking somebody, how far did you go? If you've worked with me one on one, I asked, how did your first month to 6 weeks of training go? Because that first month to 6 weeks of training tells me almost everything I need to know. Because it's usually within the first 8 weeks, typically 4 to 6, where something didn't go well. And I can pick it out. And I can't just pick it out now because I randomly can pick it out. I can pick it out now because I've been doing this for 13 years, day in and day out. 13 years figuring out somebody's injury. Actually, probably even longer than that because that's why I wanted to become a physical therapist when I was 16. Because as I was growing up, I found it so fascinating seeing the differences in how my teammates were getting injured and who got back specifically on the field because I was mainly a soccer player. Soccer and gymnastics were my sports, but seeing why somebody got hurt and was back on the field a week later, and why somebody else who seemed to have gotten hurt in the same way was out for the rest of the season. It fascinated me. And then doing this as a profession, I have picked up on clues, cues, and patterns. And now I've recognized the patterns as they're happening for somebody who can't pick up the pattern as it's happening because they've never seen it before. And that's okay because you're not supposed to. I hope you didn't see it before. Because if you had seen it before, I would hope that it wouldn't happen again. But we can't know it while we're in it. So start taking down notes to start recognizing patterns. Now, of course, when you take down the notes, you do have to reference it back again so that you can recognize the patterns, or go get yourself a coach who can go recognize those patterns for you. Because the sooner you recognize what's happening, the sooner you can make the corrections and do the right thing so that you can train without getting injured. You can get faster, you can run farther and more, and you can finish that race that you want. I hope this was helpful. As always, if you have any questions for me, Run Disney DPT on Instagram.
Hey, can I ask a quick favor? If you're enjoying this podcast, would you take 20 seconds to leave a rating and review? Leaving a rating and a review helps other runners find this podcast because the platform you're listening to this on will start suggesting it to runners like you. All it takes is 20 seconds. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. As always, thanks so much for listening. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.